Um, God, I'm almost like bracing myself. I feel myself like tensing up as I wait to hear your takes, Cameron.
Why?
We're
Why?
talking
Am I
about.
going to thoroughly destroy this movie? Is it that bad?
I no, I just want to. I have no idea what you're gonna say. I'm hearing for the first time. So,
Yeah.
Cameron, tell me what you thought
Yeah.
of Clint Eastwood's Cry Macho.
Well, I think technically, I got to point out that it's kind of a bad film. But
How
I
dare you,
say that
Cameron?
I say that in not even necessarily in a joking or an ironic way. I'm just pointing it out as like front wise because the back half kind of won me over in a lot of ways.
Mm,
And so I don't want to like just spend the whole time shitting on the movie, but
mm.
I got to point out like it's really poorly acted by most everybody who's not Clint Eastwood, which again is my criticism of most Clint Eastwood directed movies.
Some of his movies.
I think the dialogue is not very good either. For the most part, it's pretty obnoxious.
Okay.
And I will say, up until um, I think they start riding the horse, or he starts to learn how to ride the horse. I basically thought it was just like absolutely inane. Like I thought it was the most slow, terrible, like
Oh my
poorly
goodness.
acted movie. And then by the end, I was feeling much more positive on it. Not just. I mean, I don't think it's like a great movie or anything. Like, but I was definitely feeling more positive on it because I actually like the arc of the two characters. I like the kind of love story. There's something charming about the love story, although
Mhm.
I don't know how many ladies are still going after that that 90-year-old
Clint
Clint
Eastwood?
Eastwood.
Hey man, you'd be surprised.
But yeah, I guess I mean
You'd be
I
surprised.
probably would, but
Clint's girlfriend is younger than that woman.
well, fair enough.
But,
Um,
he's,
but I found the love story to be pretty charming. And you know, I I like the setup of it being kind of a road movie in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
I kind of I feel like it gives it more of because you start out and it almost feels like there's going to be this maybe like heavy drama with the kid and the parents, or there's going to be this this serious sense of them like conflicting along the way or something. But I feel like he almost kind of avoids that, or does it a little bit, but only enough to get you to like buy into the story, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's like 85% of the movie is it's like you're watching Clint as a filmmaker avoid the heavy drama he's known for the last 20 years.
Yeah, exactly.
At any point of like, oh, the cops are here. Oh, they're gonna stop. We're gonna take a detour. Oh, this town looks nice. Like it's just like every turn. And oh, the cops are here. Oh, they're not doing anything. And so you can imagine why people, why this is like the second lowest rated movie he's ever seen, because people are like, I want to see Dirty Harry kill a guy, and even in Gran Torino, you get to see him be tough guy Clint Eastwood.
Sure.
But this is and also you're expecting more of a Gran Torino type movie because the setup is so similar of him him and a kid, and differences along the way, and also him like the idea of being macho is actually kind of more explored in Gran Torino, oddly.
Yeah, it's totally not that explored in this movie at all.
In this movie, I mean, it is to some extent, but he's a masculine archetype because he's a cowboy and because he's Clint Eastwood, and you can't help but have that history. But as an actual character, he's not the like bottled up rage-filled asshole he is at the beginning of Gran Torino, or even the kind of like breezy, like not really neglecting his family kind of guy he is in The Mule. And this, he's basically a pretty, just a guy who's gone through some tragedy and is sort of, has some struggles, but he's not really as flawed a character, which is, I think,
he's kind of just a good dude.
He's pretty nice fellow,
which is why everybody likes him. Like everybody in the movie likes this guy, even the cops.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, which once again, I think, when we get to watch The Mule, that idea is explored better in that movie, because that whole movie is about how he gets away with stuff and gets away with stuff he shouldn't, like carrying pounds of drugs across the border, because he's not only an old white man, but also just a very friendly guy who can, the cops are, about to draw a gun on him, and he'll give the cops some kettle corn and say he's really big on law enforcement, and they walk away happy. And this movie, well, I guess I should share my opinion, which is, it's sort of almost like saying the whole, because all these things you're saying in criticism of this movie are completely true. And there's massive amount of things we can get into that are flawed or even outright not good about this movie. And yet I think I like this movie. And if I like a movie, I declare it a good movie. And, and that sort of feels like the whole, I don't know, I found the movie so kind of just likable and amiable and pleasant and quite a very like gentle, kind of beautiful in places. And relaxing. It was just at a certain point I was just like, I think I like this. And then when I saw it a second time, I was expecting to be more negative, because I'm like, okay, now I know it's going to be a lot of problems, but I actually felt like I enjoyed it even more, because that tension I have, whatever reason, the last two movies he's acted in, whatever reason, I know the reason, I feel like this intense, like inability to enjoy the movie the first time, because to fully enjoy it, because I feel like nervous, because Clint is so old, and watching him on screen, it's like watching, when I watch my grandma, try to walk up the stairs or something, and you're worried she's going to fall down. You get, there's like this sense of anxiety watching him, and is he going to mess up? And I don't know why I worry that, because as an actor, he does great. I don't think there's anything bad you could say about his performance.
No, he's the best one on screen
in the movie. I think he just crushes it. It's not like he's not doing the theatrics of $1 Million Baby or whatever, but he's still really good. And who knows off screen how many, if he had to do 1,000 takes because he forgot his lines or whatever. I also noticed there's sort of an odd thing that I feel like you can tell he's improvising sometimes, with the kid. The kid, of course, is really on book, and you can tell he's kind of nervous and scared, and he's just completely, his lines are much more mechanical. And also he obviously hasn't been directed because it's Clint Eastwood. So he's just kind of and he's saying, everything is very rigid. And when Clint says stuff, you feel like sometimes Clint is just sort of letting his mind wander, or he doesn't remember the line exactly. So he's sort of saying whatever. There's a feeling of that with these last two ones he acted in. But I think in a way that makes it more believable, and it makes, him feel, especially in this movie, feel like the most authentic thing in the movie. And otherwise, kind of wooden in places movie.
But, well, at every shot with, especially the kid was bad, but at every shot with the kid, I could imagine Clint just being like, all right, that's fine. All right, we got it. Moving on.
It's amazing. We should also mention.
And the kid's like, wait, I was just warming up. I need to do it again.
Yeah, I always feel bad for these actors who are doing it for the first time, because they're probably gonna look back on this and go like, oh, that was kind of rough,
Yeah.
But he's, even I remember Matt Damon said his accent wasn't he was doing South African accent in Invictus, and he's like, I don't think I really got it, Clint. They're like, do you think I could do it again? And Clint's like, why? Is it going to waste everyone else's time? We're moving on. So he just doesn't, he's just about getting it done. I was going to mention, just also for some context, that it's pretty impressive just that he made this movie. Not only that he's 90 years old when he directed and starred in it. I mean, I feel like that's probably never happened before. A guy starring as the lead in his own movie. I don't think, you might get Agnes Varda didn't even make it to 90, but maybe Manuel de Oliveira, because he directed till he's like 105, but I don't know if he had the lead role in any of his movies. But also the fact that he shot this like in December. He shot it like in the height of COVID, before vaccines were available. So Clint, I guess he's been trying to make this movie for a long time. It's been this sort of like gestating script that was been around for like 30 years or something like that. At one point, Arnold was going to do it. And I guess it was important to him enough because it's true, as a 90-year-old, you're really risking your life to be shooting a movie in a pre-vaccine pandemic. But so something admirable about that. And I think in terms of my enjoyment of the movie, I mean, I don't want to make it sound like it's just because that just seems like it's just, it's Juzo and he just loves Clint and he just loves hanging out with Clint. But I mean, you can't deny that there's some outside of the text of the movie enjoyment of just sort of hanging out with Clint Eastwood and not just because he's likable and a great actor and iconic, but the history he has, and that you can't help but know all that. You can't help but know everything from, who he was in, Man with No Name movies. That's almost 60 years ago. Right. And, Dirty Harry, Unforgettable, all the way up through his career, you know that history, and what a, icon of being macho that he was. And so seeing him as, I would quite call him frail. I mean, for a 90-year-old, he's in pretty good shape, but I mean, still, he obviously, as anyone is in their 90s, except for maybe William Shatner for some reason. There's something weird about that guy. That guy is like an undiminished 90-year-old. I don't know what he's doing, because it's not just about his face; it's everything about him. He seems like 60, but Clint does seem like he's 90, and so just seeing that kind of frailty is in itself sort of moving, and. Right. And I definitely agree that as the early parts of the movie, I was sort of just along for the ride, but it's not super great. And you can tell it's just like, what are we exactly doing here? With all the, when it gets to stuff with the kid's mother, I really don't know exactly if that's a vestige from when the guy was 40. I truly don't that's a scene. That almost, scene is insane. You think you're having, it's like David Lynch movie or something, because I don't know. Maybe you're supposed to think she's like a prostitute, but then why does she live in like a elaborate mansion? Like, no, I think she's just supposed to be like a femme fatale. She's a nymphomaniac. Type. Yeah. But like, well, no. I mean, obviously the point of the, trying to lure him into sex is so that she can distract him, obviously, like that's the point. Isn't that, she's interested in the sex, obviously, but kind of like we were talking about is, you've actually launched a better defense of it than anyone else I've heard, because everyone else is just like, I don't know what's going on there. No. I think that's very clear. Maybe not, I guess. No, I think that's, you're probably right. I guess, but I think it's clear that because of the way that he's like, I'm old, like I don't, and she like kind of flips out on him because she wants him to be distracted and not go after the kid, and kind of she's using that as her way of kind of keeping him contained, I guess. Like that's you actually you could be right about that, because as much as I like, a lot of people are going like, oh, Clint, everyone thinks Clint still thinks he's a 10 or whatever, like that's what some people were saying. But I mean, like, I think as much as Clint is like one of the most legendary what's the word for it? Lothario, one of the most legendary coxmen of Hollywood throughout the last 60 years. He does seem to be self-aware enough that he doesn't really indulge in that kind of stuff in movies. There's actually very few. In fact, The Mule was one of the first movies I've ever seen where he has a sex scene in it, which is pretty amazing. Actually, 2 sex scenes, three ways.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, at 88 years old. But this is this like, and I also wonder, like, he's so self-knowing as an actor, as a director of himself, that you almost wonder if he like knows that there's going to be something just sort of funny about him turning down sex from a beautiful woman at 90 years old, and the way he reacts to it, he makes this like hissing sound. I mean, I don't know if maybe he just thought it was funny. I mean, who really knows? But his impulses as a filmmaker are really almost at their most interesting in this movie out of any of the last few movies he's made, just because it's he stripped away any kind of semblance of intense drama or narrative that, carried through. Like Richard Jewell, as wonderful movie, which we've talked about. That's a movie with a much more straightforward. There's a dramatic structure to it. Yeah. There's character arcs. There's like a much more of like a traditional storytelling.
And I would say the drama is very intense as well. I mean, like
it is intense.
The thrill of that movie in a lot of ways is kind of how people are reacting around him.
Yeah. And then the Mule has the kind of hangout quality this movie has, but even that does still have ultimately a lot of drama to it. But this one, it's like, this is the first movie in like 10 or 11 years that's not based on a true story. And in many ways, I think it resembles the 1517 movie the most out of any one he's made, which is very interesting because that movie, when that came out, well, first of all, there's people who are like, this is the worst thing ever. Clint has lost it. He's 88 years old, which once again, now people are saying about Cry Macho. And it's like, well, look what followed 1517. He did The Mule and then he did Richard Jewell. So even at 90 years old, I don't think you can count him out. But that movie, he basically took this really dramatic thing of this, these soldiers who stopped a terrorist attack, and he left that to the end of the movie and then just followed them on their vacation in this way that's almost like, as the real life guys, almost like I was gonna say like a Linklater movie, but even Linklater has more of like a desire for drama or narrative in his minimalistic stories. This is just guys just like milling around, having mundane dialogue. I mean, it's like almost experimental. And for that reason, even though I think it's probably one of his weakest movies, I didn't hate it the way some people did because, well, first of all, it's just kind of pleasant, like hanging out with these kind of like amiable guys, but also just as almost an experimental movie. It's one of the most kind of audacious movies he's ever made. Now, when it came out, I would have said it was accidentally audacious, because I sort of wondered how much it was just Clint going, well, what did you do on the trip? Oh, we went to the Coliseum. We ate some gelato. Oh, all right. That's what we'll film. And like, but Clint, there's no story. That's what they did. We'll just do it. Like you can imagine he's just like very literal as a filmmaker because you think of him as being just so kind of workmanlike. But then here he is with this movie that's just a fictional story that by the way, if you look at the summary of the book, it's much more dramatic than what happens in the movie. There's much more, escaping from the police or whatever. And once again, with the opportunity to do anything because it's fiction, he still elects to go down the route of just hanging out and essentially nothing happening. But what's interesting is that in that one, it's like truly nothing's happening. But in this one, it's the nothing happening part of the movie is the best part of the movie by far. Once he meets Marta, the old woman who runs the tavern, it I think becomes quite wonderful. And I think there is an idea behind it. Like, I don't think it's just him being like, whatever. I think it's the idea with both characters, with him and the boy, of like, you can want all these things out of life, but what's really important is like slowing down and spending time, in the same way, like The Mule is about that also, about like how you spend your life and how it's like, you can get caught up in your work and all the things you're supposed to be doing. And it feels like almost like the movie is narratively doing that. Like it sets it up feeling like an intense, like we got to kidnap the kid, almost like a thriller movie that he's going to be on the run. But then it's sort of like, he gets rid of that sort of American genre aspect in favor of what feels like a European kind of movie almost. I even remind me of like Terrence Malick a little bit, certain parts of it, where it's just like people hanging out in the way you see in some of his later work.
Well, I mean, what I found kind of most interesting about the movie was how, even in spite of the fact that like it's kind of meandering past the narrative arc, there's almost like there's an inevitability to the narrative thrust where you're like, of course he's gonna get him to his dad, like. Mm-hmm. Like it's not, the movie sets itself up to be like, there's not going to be like an intense shootout with the cops or anything, they're not like, it's totally not the way that it's going to end in the way that you think. But kind of I guess the surprises along the way, or the pleasantness of the movie has to do with sort of explicitly just the relationships, and not just the relationships in terms of like the dramatic thrust, which easily could have been, it's like you could imagine a scene where it's like, oh, Marta's like, you lied to me about, where you're taking this kid and blah, 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 whatever else. Like you could totally imagine that, but it's not. It's almost a movie about just like kindness, the kindness of strangers. The fact that you can go anywhere in the world and find a connection with people. That there's almost just like this sweetness to the movie that is kind of what won me over more than anything.
I'm very happy to hear this, Cam.
And the fact that even just the fact that the person who wins the fight in the end is the chicken, is again just another good example of Clint being like, I don't care about that. That's not what that's not what this is. That's not what this movie is.
It's not a big thriller, correct. Because I was expecting more dramatic. Maybe more because of the trailer is very, very. Have you watched the trailer?
No, I didn't.
Go back and watch the trailer when we're done with this, because it truly is like probably the best trailer of the year. It's like incredibly done, and it sets up but it makes the movie feel like it has way more weight than. That's why I was going to the movie expecting it to be so great, because it felt so profound. But when you watch those, they throw in a few of the scenes towards the end of the movie, and it feels kind of like. It feels like the movie could end in a way where it's like Clint gets arrested, or the kid, gets sent back, or something really sad happens, the way that might have happened in a movie he made 10 years ago.
Right.
And it would be more, maybe it would have been more satisfying. I don't know. Like I found the ending of the movie to be nice, but not like super impactful the way, like Richard Jewell is like that's a really like devastating ending. And certainly we've talked about $1 Million Baby. I mean, Jesus, but, it's like he does. Yeah, you're right. He doesn't care about that. He's just like, fuck it. The chicken stops the guy. Why not? He doesn't give any, the audience would love to see Clint shoot a guy. I bet. Like, I'm sure there are guys who would be like, yeah, Clint, shoot the guy. But like, yeah, he's not about that life anymore. And in that way, it's right for the movie. Cause he's about a guy, becoming just a nice old man. And, I'm happy to hear that you like at least that part of the movie, Cameron, because I was with Adam today. He's like, what do you think Cameron's going to think? And I was like, he's going to hate the movie. I really expected it to be a much more negative.
What? I'm not that heartless. Come on.
I don't know. I don't know. If this one feels like a real, like for the Clint heads only kind of movie.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know Clint Eastwood, I think this movie would have almost no meaning. Like it would, like even you know Clint. You've seen the Dollars movies. You've seen $1 Million. Like you know enough about Clint that it has some resonance. But if you didn't know it, it would just be like, what the fuck is this? You know, this nothing movie.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, that's kind of true. I mean, and also the fact that the movie, I actually think that one of the bigger negatives of the movie, I guess, bigger than how terrible almost everything is, but but one of the biggest negatives for me, I think it's kind of weird that there's this handoff at the end and it's kind of played off as a win, but throughout the course of the movie you're reconsidering that, and you hate the dad. You think the dad is like scum. Well, it's weird. Yeah, that is a weird aspect. And the fact that you know, in the end, it's like, all right, we did it. You know, good job. We're giving to your fucking shithole dad. Like,
yeah, I think there's a little bit of a beat played between Clint when he leaves the kid that feels melancholy, but it only kind of feels melancholy just in the sense of like they had this friendship and, you know, they're saying goodbye. And I did feel like that's like, if you're going to set up, there's so much in this movie where I'm like, if I was like the script doctor, it's like, if you're going to add because it was interesting to add those layers that the father kind of wants the kid for selfish reasons. And they also layer in that like he does genuinely care, but it's kind of this ambiguity. But it all feels, it's like all those things.
I mean, I wasn't really convinced by his performance. I'm not sure if that was because he was lying or because he was a bad actor. I mean, I don't know.
You know, he's a good actor. You remember Panic Room?
Yeah. You're right. But I mean, he's bad in this movie. So, I mean,
I think he also just gets the worst sort of dialogue because everything with him is exposition, you know? Yeah, so it's sort of like
pretty bad.
There's just like, yeah, I don't even know how I would have, like, if I was like on Clint's shoulder, like how I would have said to do it. Cause it's like either don't have him, I don't know, don't have him in the movie or just like eliminate that aspect of complexity. Cause it's sort of like, there's so many things in this movie that happen where it sets up something more dramatic and then they just go, whatever.
I wonder if it would be, I mean, this is again just totally a rewrite of the movie, so it probably, I guess it doesn't matter. But I wonder if it would be interesting if, like, let's say the dad died, and you know, and then he left. You know, it's like he left his estate or something like that to his son. He hasn't seen him in 10 years or whatever, and now he's Clint. You know, his last kind of dying wish is that Clint, you know, rescues him from this bad situation in Mexico and kind of gives, you know, there's this, and then, you know, then you could have that father, you know, where there's almost a sense that, you know, Clint is kind of being a very fatherly figure to or almost a grandfatherly figure in some ways, but you know, he's kind of the wise one in the relationship. He kind of doesn't really give a shit, but he's also like he's also like, you know, here's the things that you got to know, kid, you know. And it's not that he doesn't care about him. It's just like, you know, I'm responsible for you, but, you know, whatever. It's like,
the whole speech he gives at the end, it's nice. It is much more impactful than the trailer. The trailer is has a large portion that's set to the you know, I'll tell you, kid, you know, this macho thing is overrated, that whole speech. And in the movie, it kind of just comes and you're like, okay, like it feels kind of like obligatory, like last advice. The whole like thing after they leave the town is sort of iffy to me, just in all ways, from having the whole, because there's this whole thing with the police that kind of just is like this closed loop that just sort of resolves. Like it could have been just removed completely from the movie.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally.
Other than I do like
love
drama.
Clint. I do love Clint like swearing at the cops.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Funny, but
yeah, that's the thing. Is like there's even in like these like iffy scenes where you're like, what is this doing here? Or like even that ridiculous scene with the mother. It's all of the scenes, and this is maybe where it's not just that it's Clint. It's just that Clint is a fun actor, and seeing him react to things is funny. And seeing him, and again, like the scenes with the kid early on, even though the kid's performance is like, Clint's reacting to the kid or getting annoyed that the kid is trying to drink booze or whatever. Like, I don't know. I get a kick out of that stuff. I think it's charming. It's not, we're not talking about like the highest level of cinema, of the year, but
no,
but in terms of like highest level of just my personal enjoyment of what I want from a movie, maybe it is up there, watching a woman bind her car pregnancy versus watching Clint Eastwood cursing and getting angry and trying to throw a punch at the kid is probably higher on my list of what I want to see from a movie.
Yeah,
but
sure.
No, there's just so much that could be, and also just the relationship with the kid of like how he impacts the kid. He teaches him stuff like riding a horse and stuff. That's nice, but in terms of actually like the kid is not. The transformation is just not as much as there is in when you think of Gran Torino, how that kid like really has a transformation. And also I don't think you've seen Perfect World, but there's also, that's a movie where this outlaw kidnaps a Jehovah's Witness kid. And there's a real bond in that movie. That's a really, really good, underrated Clint movie. But
I mean, I would say there's almost no transformation at all. Cause you see, he's only described as being, in a bad situation or, a monster. Like the mom calls him a monster, but he's just nice from the get go, basically.
Yeah, the kid's not really. He's not really like a terrible, he's very
behaving. Even, I guess we're supposed to think like cockfighting is terrible and whatnot. I get maybe it is. I'm not really that convinced that
we don't endorse cockfighting on this show.
I guess not. Yeah. I mean, so whatever. But it's, I mean, like he's very proud of his chicken, his rooster, his macho.
Yeah.
And so like, there's some, like, he doesn't like, you could again, imagine this movie taking place where kid's just like totally a bad apple, totally someone who's like, not just cockfighting, but, beating people up around the corner and, getting hammered and,
or just having a demeanor of, I just recently saw Good Will Hunting for the first time. And have you seen that?
Yeah, of course.
That's
a great movie.
Great. And like that movie has such a wonderful, sort of a transition of his character from this guy who like that's an example of like how you have a great movie about a guy who is sort of in the shackles of his own both like masculinity but also like like repression of like his traumatic upbringing and all these things. I mean that's A+ movie all the way, but and this is not, but I don't know. It's sort of just like one of those things where it's like, yeah, all these things, they don't really work. And it's sort of, and the dialogue is a little bit like it's the same guy who wrote The Mule in Gran Torino. For whatever reason, he only directs himself with this guy's screenplays for the last like 13 years. And all of them have a little bit of a kind of like a corniness to them, even the really good ones. There's like a little bit of like a obviousness, to underlining themes and that sort of thing. But in this movie, it's particularly clunky at times, and I almost wondered how much the movie would benefit from being, if you like cut an hour-long silent version of this movie. Because things like, iffy performances, by the way, you're saying all the performances are bad. I think the grandma is quite good in the movie.
Yeah, she is.
I really liked her.
But there's kind of this is kind of a cheat in some ways, because I always feel like actors are better when I don't know the language.
It is true.
So
it's harder to judge.
I can't tell necessarily if she's bad. I mean, of course,
she has a wonderful presence, certainly.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I agree. And that's kind of what I was saying with, the best section of the movie is definitely sort of with Marta and with, sort of them bonding and sort of learning, and him being the vet to everybody.
Wonderful.
I like that scene.
That's delightful. Did he tell the pig to start like get some exercise or something?
Yeah.
It's so charming. I love it.
And everything that it's so weird because in the same way that like you don't see like any dramatic scenes in the movie, or even them really evading the cops at all. They're just like, oh, let's turn left. He does the same thing with all the vet stuff where he's like you don't really see him fix anybody's problem.
No,
he's like even the goat who's I guess normally you'd see like a scene of them like sewing the sutures or whatever, and in this movie it's basically just like, oh he looks pretty bad, doesn't he?
There's not. I mean, I don't know if it's it works without it. I think he's just giving little impressions of things, him fixing the jukebox or making tortillas. I love where he cooks some fried chicken. Yeah. And they all say grace at the table. It's really, the scene. And then like the scene where he, the woman's granddaughter like holds his hand and then she starts speaking sign language and he says something back. This is like, I think that's just wonderful. There's something about when they first enter that tavern or canteen or whatever you call it, where he works, where it becomes, I don't know, there's something about it where the movie, it's like that's where the movie like really puts on the brakes, and like the whole thing has been them like, we got to steal a car. I love how they just like casually steal like 3 cars in the movie. There's just so much like shenanigans like that. But when he goes, and then what happens is, you know what it is that feel kind of almost dreamy is I think he takes a nap, that's another thing. There's at least 2 scenes where Clint's like, I gotta take a nap.
Definitely.
Or in one case he has to take a dump. Like there's all this like this very mundane stuff that's going on, but yeah, he takes a nap and he wakes up and the rooster's there, and and then they just start hanging out, and I don't know how to explain it, but it had the quality that I get out of like those Wim Wenders, like Paris, Texas movies, like these kind of like slow, kind of pastoral, and Malick too, movies. I can't think of what other movie it reminded me of. Oh, you know what it reminded me of? Reminded me of John Lasseter's Cars. It reminded me totally. In fact, the whole movie reminds me of Cars because it's like the same idea. It's going to the small town, slowing down life, and Cars obviously does it better and more dramatically, but everything we're positing about, it's true. Cars is wonderful, but everything we're positing about like how the movie could be more dramatic I almost think like your whole thing about the father dying at the end, I think that's completely right. Especially you could even have like a deathbed scene that the son sees his father for the last time. You could do like a lot of good stuff from these sort of ideas, but you wonder how much adding any of this drama or adding any of these things would kind of deflate the sort of like gentle quiet that the movie has. I was going to say,
I mean, of course it would, but it would probably be a better movie.
It would be a better movie overall.
Yeah.
I kind of just wish the whole movie was just them in that small town, because that would have just been, that would have been top 10 material for me, at least.
I would almost be, it's almost like there's something wrong with the fact that it doesn't do, I mean, it does both, and it tries to kind of juggle that. Or, I mean, not even really tries. Like, it totally shrugs off the dramatic portion. But like, you could imagine a story where it's basically like, they just get stuck, and there's, it's like most of the movie is them just getting stuck, and then the kid just is like, I don't really want to leave. Like my dad, my dad's a piece of shit, like
that could have been a touching moment too. If you had, I guess it really wouldn't work, because like then it would like Clint would get sued. But like if the kid, like it's like the end of I can't think of anything other than the children's book Henry Huggins, where his dog comes back and the dog basically the dog chooses between the two owners at the end. But you could have done something like that. That would have been kind of touching if the kid went back. Because you do want the kid. You just want the kid and Clint and everyone to just stay at that town, you know. There's just so many different ways they could have done it that would have worked better. And then also just tightened up the opening, because it is a long wait to get to that. Because you recommend the movie it gets good, but it's like you have to wait like 45 minutes for it to get really good. And most people are like, most people are going to bail before that, I think. That's one of the things that I noticed, because I was, I had actually just gotten home from working. It was like 11 o'clock and I wasn't sure if HBO was going to let me finish or whatever. Oh, really?
And so I was like 45 minutes in, and it turned midnight, and I was like, well, I wonder if it's going to keep going. If not, this is shit. Basically. It was
waste my time again. Yeah.
It was good that, that I could finish it, because at least I had something positive to say. But
wow. Well, I appreciate you giving it a chance. Yeah, that's good.
It's really like I feel like 1/3 of the movie is very good and excels at what it does. And the other 2/3 of the movie, I just don't, I feel like I just almost like worthless, like basically.
I would argue they're not shit, because it's like, I think it's just funny. Even like just the fact that Clint drives a car, like for me, I just think that's funny. Because what are they, I just, or him driving past the horse, they're just like stupid things like that I don't know. I just enjoy watching him do anything, really. But yeah, I can't. It's like, it's one of those things where it's like, it makes me wonder if I was a professional critic and not just a guy just yammering on, would it almost be like unethical for me to give this a good review? Because it's like, in every like objective or rubric based way, you can't exactly call this a good movie. But in the terms I said, which is like, it's like when I watch Escape Room 2, it's like, I don't know if this is a really good movie, but I enjoyed the whole thing, so it must be good. So I guess
like you and the stupid last Star Wars movie.
Exactly like Last Star Wars movie is like, it's like inane nonsense, but I thought it was incredibly enjoyable.
I don't even see how you can possibly think that, but
you just have to forget it's like the 9th movie and the most like biggest franchise of all time.
You just have to turn on your dumb brain and say, look, it's the lasers.
Well, no, okay. We'll relitigate Star Wars later. Maybe this will be the opposite of Llewyn Davis, where I then say this is actually a piece of garbage. Yeah, but anyway, I don't know if I have anything else to say about this movie.
Yeah, I don't really either. It's just like, it's. I also
would you recommend?
No,
you wouldn't recommend it. If we were doing like Mike and Jay at the end.
No, probably not. No, because there's a very select few people who would actually enjoy this movie, and almost it's almost more of like a mood thing. Like, are you in the mood to watch kind of a pointless movie about a guy who connects with a kid and teaches him a couple lessons along the way, and has a heartfelt moment or two. Right. If you're in the mood for that, then watch this movie. Right. But if you're in the mood for literally anything else, like it's not even gonna stimulate you. Like
no, it's the sort of thing where I think I could imagine if you had seen the movie and I didn't watch it, you would have been like, I recommend this to no one except you. Like, you would be telling me, you don't like this movie.
100%.
If you had watched it just without, you would have been like, yeah, Juzo will like this. But it's bad when even my dad is kind of like, because there are guys I talked, and I just talked to my dad's friend today who's like, oh, I love Clint Eastwood. I watched 20 minutes. I was like, time to hang it up, old man. Like she's like, yeah, I couldn't get through it. So it's funny because in a way, even if I was saying, do I recommend the movie? I kind of would say no, because I just know most people would dislike it. And I guess that's true. You know, it even is true of like Titan in some way. There are just some movies,
True, yeah.
even though Titan is like, I think undeniably like a almost excellent movie, like truly one of the best movies of the year. I know like the people, at least a lot of my friends certainly would hate it, would say fuck this in the first 20 minutes. And I think they would say fuck this in a less enthusiastic way with Cry Macho. But
well, I guess that's the other thing is like, even as, you know, even the things that we do like it for, there's nothing, even then, there's nothing that hooking about the movie at all. Like it almost feels like
as Bane would say, for you. But
no, I mean, I think for basically everyone, it's like, you know, that you know, when you have like a strip of Velcro that like, you know, it's like the loops are too far gone almost. It's like it
holds
sticks
on by like 3.
Yeah, it sticks on a little bit, but you know, any resistance at all and it'll just come loose. Like that's what this movie feels like. It's like yeah, there's like some things that stick, but like
again, it's a fair assessment, but nevertheless, for me, I mean, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm watching Clint Eastwood. Like, that's just how I feel watching this movie. Like, oh my God. But I can't like completely disconnect from my knowledge of how movies work. You know, I can't be that much in denial. But I don't think it's not like I'm in denial. It's more just that like it's just like, it's something I enjoy and most people won't. And that's okay. You know, I'm sure there are other things that are like that.
Like some people really love the Peter Pan ride at Disneyland. I don't understand why. I'm not really sure why anybody finds enjoyment from it. You know, the one
what
where
the fuck is that?
It's the ride where, you know, you just get on a boat and it goes creakingly slow and it retells you the story of Peter Pan.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
And it has no, you know, it's pretty much just a little slideshow of Peter Pan and that's it. But you know, some people like that. Some people like,
I mean, do you, if we're turning this into a Disneyland pod, what do you think of the Winnie the Pooh ride? I think that's elite level.
I don't even know if I've ever been on it.
Oh, it's like really deep in the corner. It's over by like Splash Mountain. I go on that ride like 50 times in like 1 hour. I just like get on. And at one point I was there with Adam and some of our friends and they're like, you don't even need to get off. They just let us just keep going in the ride.
What is the ride? I don't
it's like Winnie the Pooh's dreams, basically. It's sort of like a surrealistic thing.
Right.
He's thinking of the heffalumps and woozles. And it's pretty incredible. I really enjoy that sort. I don't go for roller coasters or rides that move quickly. But a ride like that's my kind of jam, I think.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, no one clicked on this podcast to hear our Disneyland takes. We should go to Disneyland sometime, Cameron. That'd be fun.
I don't know if we'd have the same philosophy about that.
Oh, are you like a big roller coaster guy?
Yeah, I love the thrill rides.
Oh my God. Well, I've done that before like Adam goes on the roller coasters. I just sit on the bench like an elderly person while I just wait for everyone to come down.
See, this is the difference in philosophy, I guess. And we have, this is why you enjoy this movie.
Yeah. To connect it back.
I'm split on it.
Yeah. It's just my personality that I would like something like this. In any case, I don't know. Clint, you know, it's not like he's actually gone that long without making a movie because he made this movie in December. I always expect him to be working on something because he's so prolific. But
is he? Do we know what he's doing next?
No, there hasn't been anything announced.
This is very recently released, so I don't know.
So he made December 2020, right? We're in 2021. I'm like losing track of time, but yeah, he hasn't announced anything yet. But this sort of thing is not. I mean, if I watch 1517 and I'm like, we don't count out Clint Eastwood, you know, this certainly is not going to make me do that because as much as it feels like an old person losing their grip, but this has happened before. Like it's happened with Clint. He's made plenty of movies like this before where you're like, what was that, Clint?
Yeah. I'll say I don't really feel like this one's going to be a memorable one for most people. I don't think.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Are going to look back on this one. Like even 1517, I think has a little bit of a resurging cult following, I guess.
That's
right?
true. It does. Yeah. I don't know what that really, I have a hard time putting my finger on what that's about. Cause the Safdie brothers are also part of that, by the way. Like they're like, we'll never forget that movie.
Yeah. I'm just not convinced that this movie is going to get that kind of appeal because again, even the things that I do like about it, it's almost that I wish they were in different movies, like I feel like I almost want Clint to just make a straight road movie in some way, you know what I mean? Like if he just actually did it instead of like even just a meandering road movie where it's like, imagine if they did like Clint and his like elderly wife, like traveling to different states. Like that would be an awesome movie. I feel
would. I would love something like that. I feel like when I watch the genre elements of this movie, when it's like, oh, the mother's trying to seduce him, or especially when it's like the cops are chasing him, it feels almost like he's just like, we need some drama in here. Like, I don't want to bore my audience, but it feels just like kind of obligatory, like phoned in. Like,
it feels like he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to.
And it feels, you totally feel his heart is in the Clint fixing the jukebox part of the movie. Yeah. And so it's like, he that's a good point. He should do, because I don't know if he's ever actually done that completely. I don't think so. You have some other slower movies, but even 1517, of course, ends with the big bloody, and it's such a weird movie because it's just like nothing, this weird nothing happening movie doesn't look like his movies. He probably shot a second unit. He might not have been him shooting the gelato scene, but at the end, then it becomes like this, like really just competent thriller, and in some ways more competent than the thriller aspects of Cry Macho, but I would love to see something like that. Or alternatively, I'd love to see him go back to his roots of doing true stories. And I don't know, whatever. I mean, look, Clint could just film himself, a Zoom film, and I would watch it, like, I don't care. I'll watch whatever crap he makes.
But if he does that, he's going to talk like he's out of his mind for most of the time. So.
That would be awesome. I would love that. I mean, I think, obviously, Unforgiven is kind of his Western send off. But I feel like I'd kind of understand if Clint went back to a Western of almost like the John Wayne era, and he directed it. He didn't star in it, but he had this kind of like almost, in the same way that this movie does, this like, very heroic but understated masculine character, and like I feel like he could totally do something like that, but still have the thrills of a John Wayne movie. That would be, I mean, look, if Clint made a Western, like, that'd be awesome, but to me it would be very surprising if he did that. I think he's
definitely,
I think Unforgiven, truly, he has, like, that was like, hey, like hanging it up, and what better way to do it than that? Yeah. It is sort of odd though, because that movie that felt like it's his Irishman. Like it felt like his last movie. And then it's like, he's made like 30 more years of like movies that are like, feel like his last movie. Like every time, $1 Million Baby, I think he said that might be my last movie acting in it. And then Gran Torino, of course, totally feels like his last movie. I mean, the way that movie ends, and The Mule is like that, and this movie feels like that. So
hopefully The Irishman is not Scorsese's last thing. So.
He's in post-production, but he's hopefully not. He's not even that old, but it feels that like, sort of way.
I hope
goodbye to the genre.
Well, I hope we could still ring out 30 more years of Scorsese too. I mean, that'd be awesome. He's already
Scorsese at 108 making movies. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
It'd be sick.
Well, okay. I think we've about covered it about this movie. I
Yeah.
don't think there's anything else to be said.
Why were we so positive about it when we both feel so mad about it?
I don't feel mad. Well, I only feel mad just in the objective sense. I don't feel mad in terms of how I feel. This is a lot. This is, I think, a lot like our review of Tenet, where it's like
I was much more passionate about Tenet, but
you disliked it. I thought.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Whack. Yeah, that one being like, at least my take is very similar, which is like, I see all the flaws. When I reviewed Tenet, I was almost saying it might not even be good, but yet you're watching a director who I love in both cases, making something that is just hits me in a certain way that I enjoy watching it more than even most of the better movies made in the year. Yeah. I think there's something to that. Also, Spike Lee did a series. Spike Lee actually did a series about COVID and 9/11, this big epic project. And there are parts of it. The section about 9/11 is just straight up one of the best things he's ever made. It's like unbelievable. It's on HBO, this series, NYC Epicenters. But the part about COVID, there's parts of it where Spike is like, he's just doing these like weird things. He's going on insane tangents. And because he has this freedom of 8 hours to do this series, it's like, fuck it. I'll just do a tangent where I show a montage of babies and play like a Frank Sinatra song. It's supposed to be about New York, but it's like, we'll talk about the Capitol insurrection. We'll talk about anything. We'll talk about he's interviewing Bill de Blasio, and probably he talks 90% of the interview just about how he can't believe that de Blasio likes the Red Sox. He doesn't give a fuck. And with all three of these guys, with Nolan, Spike, and Clint, I just love watching these movies, even at their most flawed, because you feel like it's the work of an artist who's truly free and who has truly reached a point of just being like, I'll do whatever I want. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But it's wholly original. It's wholly singular to them. And so I'm happy just for that aspect of it, I think. Yeah. I guess that's maybe a good way to end the episode.